Greetings, YouTube, and welcome to an episode of the all-new interview series from Cosmo Records called Behind the Artist. So, I have here a very special guest today. He is one of the most interesting creators I know, because he's a man with different interests and he's from an unlikely background. Now, MOPETE over here has a YouTube channel and he is a YouTube creator. And as I have worked with him before, I have seen that he is somewhat of a connoisseur of anime and manga as well as several other things. But, he is not some neckbeard snorting Cheeto dust in his mom's basement. In fact, he is actually also an active duty member of the United States military, traveling the world to exotic places, yet having the time and temerity to not only start a YouTube channel, but also to grow it with a consistent stream of original and interesting content. So again, I'm very excited to have MOPETE on here today. He is a very interesting creator that I've had the privilege of working with before. And MOPETE, I just want to start the interview off by asking you some basic background questions, because I think your background is quite interesting and will be of great interest to the viewers of my channel. So first of all, tell me a little bit about your history and your story, your background. Where are you from and what was like growing up there? And so kind of tell me about the origins of MOPETE.
Okay. I am from a little town called Corpus Christi, Texas. It is a military town on the coast of Texas, hashtag Third Coast. And basically, I was born there because my father was also in the military, and he happened to be stationed there when he met my mother. Now, he retired about 3 years after I was born, so I didn't do the whole stereotypical military child constantly recollocating thing. So I was born and raised in Corpus Christi, Texas. If you ask anyone I know, they'll tell you I love Texas. I love Corpus Christi. We're the town that made Selena, the big Tejano singer that died way before her prime was ever fully reached here in the States. Tragedy. But yeah, I'm from Corpus Christi. I ended up joining the military, like you said, because in high school I didn't have any money, and my grades were kind of, subpar because I didn't really focus and apply myself in school. So I said, hey, military offers free schooling, get to travel the world and meet interesting people while doing it. Why not? And here I am. I'm 5 years deep at the time of this video into the United States Navy.
Right. And you mentioned you're from Corpus Christi, and I've actually never had the privilege of visiting Texas. It's always been on my to-do list. Of course, I'm from the US and I've traveled a lot throughout the US when I used to be in the finance business. But, I've been to the American South, but I've never been to Texas. And, Corpus Christi, isn't there like somewhat of some kind of surfing culture there? I mean, I know the beaches aren't the same as in Hawaii, but are there beaches where you can enjoy and also do some surfing?
Oh yeah, there are tons of beaches. There are tons of places you can go to in that whole little Corpus Christi area, the Gulf Coast area, to where you can find some good surf. You have North Beach, you have JP Luby, which is like the popular spring break destination. You have Port A. You have tons of different places you can go to out there to catch a good wave. I'm not a surfer myself, but I have plenty of friends that are into it that like to talk about it, so that's how I know. And I believe we have plenty of professional surf competitions that find their way down here as well.
Oh, okay, very cool. Great. Now, you mentioned that your dad was in the Navy, and is that right?
That's correct.
Oh, okay. My next question, concerning your military career, before we go more into the creator aspect of your profession. So, besides the fact your dad was in the Navy, why the Navy? Because there are multiple branches, and within the Navy, there's also the Marine Corps. Also, there are multiple paths to join in the military. There's the Reserve Service, the National Guard, and of course, there's the enlisted route, which you apparently have taken, and there's also the route of Officer Candidate School, or ROTC, into the officer route. So first of all, why the Navy? Why not the Marines, the Army, the Coast Guard, the Air Force? Tell me a little bit about that.
So funny thing about that is I actually originally wanted to join the Air Force. From what I've researched, my own personal research, they had the highest quality of life, which has proven to be true. But I could never find the recruiter. The recruiter was never in their office, and apparently this is a problem. This is a common problem amongst people who are trying to join the Air Force. Is that the recruiters, they usually fill up their quotas very quickly. So once they fill up their quotas, they pack it up, lock it up, and you don't see them until they need more recruits, which they usually find very quickly. So there I was. Air Force office was closed. Navy recruiter, I'm sure I've done this plenty of time before, popped his head out, was like, hey, it's pretty hot out here. Why don't you sit down in here for a little bit and cool down? And the rest was history. I had a very good recruiter who had me take the practice ASVAB, the test that you must take to prove your aptitude to join the military. They had me sit down and take a practice test. I did pretty well on it. And they were like, ooh, you can get a pretty high paying job or a high potential paying job here in the Navy if you decide to go with us. So they kind of smoothed me away with it. And the fact that my dad was also in was kind of a point they used against me. So they did, like I said, they did a great job recruiting me. But I don't regret going into the Navy one bit. I definitely think that's the branch for me. I think I would have been way too bored just sitting in a random Air Force base in Iowa or something like that.
I'm also a fan of the Navy as well because I come from a Navy family. My dad, we might have discussed before, my dad was in the Navy. He was an officer because he was a Navy dentist and he was active duty around the time of the Vietnam conflict. Personally, I'm rather partial to the Marines. And actually, I've tried to join previously, but I was unfortunately turned down the first time because of some minor health issues, but I was invited to reapply. But during this period, I decided to do some traveling, and then, of course, that changed my path in life. And I think I'm a little bit too old for the Marines right now, but I continue to cheer them on from a distance. What do you think about that? Have you considered joining the Marines instead of the Navy prior to making your decision?
The Marines was pretty much never an option for me. The recruiters would come to my school because they're a whole separate, even though they are under the same department. Yes, they are both Department of the Navy. The Marines handle their own recruiting. So that they had an entirely separate office from the Navy. But their recruiters would come to the school I was in and they would have students do the pull-up challenge right then and there in the cafeteria. Like, ooh, you think you can be a Marine?
Oh, wow.
See, you can get 12 pull-ups right now. And I never did it because I was scared. But yeah, the Marines was never, the whole, the physical aspect of their lifestyle never really appealed to me. I just think, from the get-go, the Navy was just kind of a match made for me there.
Okay.
I respect the Marines because they have arguably the most difficult jobs in the entire service. They not only do you have to know how to deploy on land, you also have to be proficient when it comes to doing amphibious operations and landing via sea. So it's a pretty wide spectrum of things you have to do if you're going to be a Marine out in the front line. So I have a lot of respect for them. That being said, there is an inter-service rivalry between the Navy and Marines. We kind of think of us as their daddy because they're Department of the Navy, and they came from our brainchild. So there's always that little inter-service rivalry where they like to cheese each other. But I love Marines. I love my jarheads.
Cool. So to move on to the next question, and I'm kind of going to do a little bit of a shift here. And we will get back to your military career later on, but you are a military man, you're active duty, and from what you've told me previously, you have already been traveling around the world, and I'm sure seeing very exotic places, interesting places, good food and whatnot. But, as a military person, what made you get into YouTube? So let's start talking a bit about your YouTube career. You are a content creator. What made you get started with YouTube?
Oh. That is a long, interesting story. I'm sure you'll be able to edit the better parts of it. So 2 years after I joined the military, I was at a training command, and we went to class for 4 to 6 hours a day, and the rest of the day, it was in a very, very, very small neck of the woods. So the only thing to do was sit at a hotel or go to Walmart. So I would start watching YouTube videos. I started watching a lot of YouTube videos. And I came across this creator named Super Butter Buns. Great creator. She does a series called For Beginners, and it basically covers video games. What struck me was how much fun she was having. She released a video celebrating getting getting one of her milestones for subscribers, and she said she started getting emotional. She said YouTube saved her life. It's the greatest thing that ever happened to her, and no matter how hard she gets, she'll always be thankful for doing that. That and one of my friends from high school started her own YouTube channel. Pretty much sealed it for me. I was like, wow, if she can do that, if they can have fun while doing this, then why not me? Why not I give it my own shot? Ironically enough, that friend that from high school that started a YouTube channel no longer does YouTube. I outlasted her, even though she was my inspiration. But yeah, that's pretty much how I got into it. I saw other people doing it, saw, this looks fun. I'm doing nothing but sitting in this hotel. Let's see what I can do with this.
Okay, great. And that friend that inspired you, was that your current XO of your channel, as I know her, or someone different?
No, it's not Claire. It is
Okay.
it is someone different. I won't name
All
them
right.
for the sake of professionalism, but yeah,
Yeah, no
they
problem.
no
No problem.
longer on YouTube.
No problem. So about your channel, all right. So apparently you have. I mean, from what I know, you have an interest in anime and manga. But can you tell me what else? What other areas of interest that inspire you to create content for your channel?
Now, when I think of MOPETE, I don't just think of anime and manga. I think of nerd culture in general. That means anime, manga, video gaming, tabletop gaming, comic books, what have you. Pretty much anything under the sun as far as nerd and pop cultures, and even things outside of that. I was writing a video yesterday about just going about and doing grocery shopping. That idea is probably going to end up in the trash soon, but it just shows to show that really nothing's off limits for me in this channel. And I like to really not limit myself as far as what I can do on the channel. Though I feel like once I get bigger, inevitably I'll start having to lean more on my more popular content. But as for right now, I'm trying a little bit of everything and I'm just having fun with it.
Okay, very good. Now, I've seen that, and again, I've reviewed a lot of your content on your channel, and the ones that stood out most to me, because I have somewhat of an interest in these topics shared with you. You do have an interest apparently in anime, and can you kind of share with me, in your history, going back in your history again, what got you into anime? Why are you a fan of anime compared to other, you know, forms of art and other forms of animation? Why anime? What got you into your interest with it?
Oh, very stereotypically, I started watching anime through Dragon Ball Z on Toonami. So like
Oh, okay.
millions of other boys in the United States, I discovered Dragon Ball Z on Toonami, and I just sort of watched what other stuff Toonami would put on there. They put on the Dragon Ball Z movies. They put on Mobile Suit Gundam, Gundam Wing, all those movies that have to do with that, all that kind of stuff. And I got into manga, believe it or not, through my mother. She would take us to Barnes and Nobles on like the weekend, and I'll go into this. And I would like to. First of all, I like to wander throughout the store because Barnes and Nobles are usually awesome. They're big stores with all these displays and cool stuff. But I would wander throughout the store, and one day I saw this book, right, or this section of books that'd be like, hey, that's Dragon Ball Z, or hey, that's Naruto in book form, in comic book form. Why are the pages black and white? I don't know. This is still pretty cool. So, this is back before we had the days of iPhones and all that. So, watching anime or enjoying anime content on the go was unheard of. So little kid me saw this as golden because I can basically now read Dragon Ball Z stories or Naruto stories or whatever stories wherever I go. So that's how I got into manga too. But yeah, my roots are very, I guess, vanilla. I'm sorry I don't have like a more grandiose story for you.
Oh, no problem. And again, like talking about anime, like which are some of your favorite anime shows and why? So you mentioned you got
Ooh.
started with Dragon Ball Z, but I know it gets much more deep than that. So tell us a little bit about your personal interests as a connoisseur of anime.
Ooh. So when I was younger, I liked more action oriented shows. Your typical shonen anime. And I guess the apex of that era was Code Geass, Lelouch of the Rebellion. That anime will always be in my heart. I watched it on Toonami. I watched it on Adult Swim. I watched it on YouTube because there was a period, believe it or not, where YouTube showed free anime. and I just fell in love with Code Geass. I could rewatch. There's one series I can rewatch over and over again. It's definitely that series.
The YouTube channel that had free anime. This wasn't run by that girl from Scotland, right? Who had the reactions?
No. This was actually like
it's a different
Funimation, not Funimations, but it was the anime companies themselves putting these videos out there and allowing
the actual content owners.
Yeah, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think they still do that because that's just leaving money on the table. But yeah, there was a time where they just showed free anime on YouTube, and Code Geass was one of them.
Now, you mentioned Code Geass and the character of Lelouch. Now, just refresh my memory because as you know, I'm also a voiceover actor, and I work with another YouTube channel called Epic Scenes Anime, and I've done some other like top 10 anime videos, and I remember speaking about Lelouch several times. Now, is Lelouch she's a girl, right?
No, he's a guy. He's a guy.
Oh, Lelouch is a guy. Okay. All right. Can you remind me who is Lelouch, this character?
He's a guy. He was prince of an evil nation called Britannia, but his mother was killed.
Right.
Yeah, he was sent off to Japan, which got taken over by Britannia and renamed to Area 11. And basically the plot is him gaining this power of the gods called Geass, which allows him to basically command people to do whatever they want. And he uses this power to get revenge on Britannia.
Oh, okay.
Of course, it's not that simple. Everything happens, shenanigans and whatnot.
And Britannia is referring to what, a fictional version of the United Kingdom?
Pretty much. Basically, this is the United Kingdom if the East India Trading Company never got stopped. If they just kept on expanding and expanding and expanding. Like America in this anime is Britannia. Like the Americas have been completely taken over by them, and they're just a non-player in this.
Oh, so it's the British Empire.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, all right. And now you mentioned Code Geass, and please continue if you had any more of your personal favorites to discuss. I'd like to hear it.
All right, another favorite from that era was School Rumble. It was another anime that was shown on YouTube, and it's a little comedy anime about characters going to high school. And I guess that really kicked off kind of my love for like non-actiony anime. There was School Rumble, Hikaru no Go, Prince of Tennis, of course, the whole Yu-Gi-Oh pantheon. Yeah, just non-action anime is something I've really gotten back into here in recent years.
Okay, great. Now, coming from anime, I'm going to bring up a very controversial question.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, hit me.
But are you a gamer? And if you are, PC, Master Race, or console?
All of them. I got a powerful rig. I got a PS4. I got a Nintendo Switch. I have a 3DS. I really don't have a bias when it comes to consoles. I guess anything but Xbox because Microsoft is trash. Come at me, nerds.
Well, as you know, this interview is being recorded on a Linux machine, so we're not exactly the number one fans of Microsoft either. But going back to your channel, looking at that, I've not seen a lot of like video game content. Like, is this something that you are going to go into in the near future? Perhaps doing some playthroughs or play-alongs? Is that kind of on the table for your future plans?
So I'm going to give you some insight here, Seth. Video game content is a lot harder to make than, me talking about spoon-fed media. I like to call it like movies, anime, shows, because spoon-fed media, quote unquote, is you literally you splice in the A-roll footage of whatever you're talking about, and you just mix that in with your voiceover, add some, overlays, music here and there, and boom, you're done. Video game content is a lot harder because not only do you have to play through the video game, you also got to wade through all of that footage of you playing through the video game and find stuff relevant to what you're talking about and putting that into video. So it's not like I don't want to talk about video games. It's just that making video game related videos are a lot more time consuming. And as I'm active duty on sea duty right at the moment of this video, I just don't have that amount of time. I'm definitely looking at putting in more video game related content in the future, though.
And also, in addition to taking the time to go back and reviewing your footage, also going back and bleeping out all the F-bombs, depending on which platform you're going to be uploading to, of course.
Yes, because on my Twitch channel, I will get very heated very quickly, especially if I'm playing Crash Bandicoot. You can go back and watch any
Right.
of my Crash Bandicoot videos to see that.
And I just wanted to make a comment too, and I want to kind of hear your feedback on that. But there have been like major controversies with content creators doing live streaming, and they say something that no one in the gaming community would ever blink an eye at. I mean, I've heard. I mean, I'm a gamer myself, and obviously these days I don't have time to play 12 hours a day anymore, like like I did 10 years ago. But I try to get in some gaming as much as I can. I used to play a lot of multiplayer games. Now I'm getting off of that because of just time and frustration, and I'm getting more into the single player games with role playing elements and very good stories. But going back to the controversy, and again, a risk of being a content creator and doing certain types of content, especially live, such as video games. So, there have been content creators, and there's many of them, but the one that comes to mind is PewDiePie. He said many things live on stream on Twitch that has been mirrored on YouTube, and he has said things that have caused a lot of controversy. And yet, as a gamer, and I'm sure you can empathize with this, there are things that he has said, and not only him, other streamers and content creators have said while playing games that you and I might even say ourselves and not even blink an eye because it's out of the heat of the moment. It's out of frustration. We don't really mean, I mean, like, when we say a bad word, we're not meaning to like offend someone. We're just acting out. You know what I mean? Or if we're playing with a group of friends and we riff them and we insult them, it's not really, when you call someone a certain name or you use a slur, against your friend, right? There's context, right? It's like your friend might even say something worse, or you might encounter a funny moment in the game which calls for saying something very, very inappropriate. So you and I have been there, and other gamers have been there. But there's been moments where, like PewDiePie, for example, he says some bad words, or he says a slur, or he says something else, and he loses like millions of dollars of sponsors and advertising. There are organizations like anti-hate organizations that have called him out for being discriminatory, for being nasty, for being mean, for being defamatory, a racist, a sexist, all sorts of things like that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, are you familiar with this? Probably you are. And what is kind of like your personal opinion as a content creator about being authentic, especially while you're on stream, but also trying to be having that politically correct side about not offending the normies? Because obviously a lot of people don't understand gaming culture. Some people on YouTube have never even played a video game. Nonetheless, a very toxic genre like MOBAs, or like, such as, for example, League of Legends or Dota 2 or Heroes of the Storm, where the toxicity can be extreme, yet they're great games. Even after the toxicity, sometimes you talk to your opponents in DMs and you become friends. But tell me a little bit about your thoughts about balancing being a content creator, being authentic, and saying what you want when you want in reaction to playing a game or even reviewing a movie, and yet being slightly afraid that people may not understand what you're saying and will get extremely offended and even will try to come after you. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, wow, you picked a really dubious topic.
Well, you are a content creator, so you are in the same ocean as PewDiePie, although obviously not yet at his level. And hopefully, after this interview, we'll get you on that road, right?
Hopefully, but yeah, to answer your question,
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, to answer your question, I'm gonna say that it's really hard when you gain as big of a following as a PewDiePie or as a Ninja or as an SS Sniper Wolf, because as that subscriber count goes up, so does that spotlight on you. And literally everything, it comes to the point where you're so big and so famous and all the eyes are on you that literally everything you do, every move you make is under scrutiny. So I know that can cause some content creators to quote unquote leave their roots, as per se, sell out and, try to be politically correct and follow all the rules because, it's their living now. So they're not trying to lose money that, put food off their table. I can perfectly understand that. But I can also understand the other side of that, where you want to stick to yourself and be who you are when you first started, even if it means you make a lot of enemies, because more people means more people, or more people watching your content means more people disagreeing with your content. It doesn't matter how good you are or how consistently, good your content is. You're going to have people that don't like it, and that number is only going to increase, the more viewers you get. But you're going to have but yeah, what I'm saying is there are going to be people that just decide to stick to their guns and just be them, even if it means having to wade through a few storms. I have respect for both sides of that argument. But what I want to draw attention to is not exactly content or streamers like PewDiePie and Ninja that catch flack, but female content creators like SS Sniper Wolf, to where I feel that kind of thing that they have to deal with is magnified to the umpteenth degree, because just because they're females in a community that is dominated by predominantly males, and some of those males don't take too kindly to, good looking females doing as well as they are. And I feel like their moves are put under a lot of scrutiny. SS Sniper Wolf seems to be getting caught in some type of scandal every other week. And I'm surprised this girl hasn't just completely broke down mentally from it. I mean, I'm sure the millions of dollars a year help, but still, it's a tough profession to be in, either way you look at it. And I just think whatever your decision you have to make, you just have to be you have to be stalwart in that decision. If you're going to be a guy that sells out, quote unquote, like I said, isn't a bad thing, and follow the rules, then be that guy that, quote unquote, sells out and follows the rule. If you're going to be a guy that sticks to your guns and end up being the anti-hero, then be the guy that sticks to your guns and being the anti-hero. Just know if you make that decision, you can't switch back. Because if you switch back, it'll make you look that much worse, and you'll be hated by both sides of the argument then.
So, in other words, and again, correct me if I'm getting it wrong, but your philosophy about all of this and these very real questions these days is that people respect authenticity and originality and dedication to your own philosophy rather than someone who follows the trends and follows where the wind is going. Is that right?
What I'm going to say is people don't respect as much as it is authenticity as it is consistency and
right.
Where you're going with it. You know what I'm saying? People don't like to be jerked around. They don't like for you to be all, ooh, I'm going to be topical. I'm going to talk about current events only. I'm going to post reactionary videos, to being, oh no, now I want to talk about old games and be introspective and all that. No, once you get to that level, you kind of have to be either one or the other. You can't just switch it up on them like that. I'm saying you should be consistent on what you want to do. It doesn't matter what the wrong choice is. The wrong choice is either not doing anything at all, or just switching it up on them.
And also, just to add what you said, and also I wanted to inform the audience of my position of not only about this, but just generally in business and in life and in entertainment and artistry and creation. You absolutely, and this is exponentially more true, in my opinion, the more successful and well-known you get, okay? It's true from the beginning, but again, it gets much more intensified as you go deeper and deeper into your profession, or you get better at what you're doing, such as being a YouTube creator. You have more content, more engaging content, the subscriber count goes up, people start to notice you. I think that when you try to please everyone, that, Bill Cosby said this, all right? And I got this from Bill Cosby, who I used to really admire a lot before all of the scandals he got himself into. But he said something, and to paraphrase, he said something like, I don't know exactly what the secret to success in life is, but I know that you are guaranteed to fail if you try to please everyone. And this kind of thing has been repeated by people that I follow, like Elon Musk and Joe Rogan. So I'm just throwing that out there that for the audience. And again, if you agree or disagree with what I'm saying, feel free to comment. If you feel that I'm onto something, comment as well in the comment section below our interview. But in the military also, my dad being in the Navy, he told me that even back in the day when, in the 60s and 70s, he told me that the military was very political, and meaning not left versus right. What he meant was you have to be careful about what you're doing, what you're saying to which person, who overhears what, because it can affect your chances of promotion. It can affect your career aspects. It can affect how comfortable you are in the military. Now, real briefly, not to go off too much on a tangent, but can you kind of comment about that?
I would.
about pleasing everyone versus just doing what you feel is right. How does that extend to your career in the military versus being a creator? I mean, we talked about being a creator. How does that kind of come into play in the service?
Military, I feel like it's the same philosophy. You know, you literally cannot please everyone. So if you're going to be someone who takes the military and just goes to the sky is limited with it, be a 20 plus career man and just make officer and do all these great things, yeah, you can do that. If you want to, just be a guy that just goes to the military for, the benefits, gets out of the 6 years and moves on and does something else, yeah, it's cool to do that too. Or if you want to be like me, do 10 years, and discover what you kind of want to do in the middle of the military and then decide the military isn't the right thing for you, yeah, do that. But just know, no matter no matter what of those infinitely branching paths that you take, it's going to piss someone off. So
Right.
so yeah,
Right.
you just gotta roll with the punches there, kind of. There's always going to be that one superior or that one subordinate that just doesn't like you, and there's just nothing you can do about it besides, just do you, and don't make the problem worse.
Right, right. Now, I think that's good advice to go off of. Well, especially in the military, because you have a contract and an obligation to stay there. You can't just pick up and quit every
No.
time you have a conflict. You have to learn to resolve your conflicts,
Yeah,
right?
you got to be a man of your word in the military. Your contract is your written word. And so if you end up going absent or worse, end up going deserting, then I do not feel sorry for you, whatever those consequences are, whether it be, you just getting kicked out of the military or you having to spend months in federal prison for deserting.
Leavenworth, right?
There's Leavenworth, there's Miramar, California, there's Guam, or not Guam, but Cuba. What was I forgot? Guantanamo Bay. Yeah,
Guantanamo.
yeah. So there's a few different places you can
I
go.
thought Guantanamo though was only for foreign combatants.
No, you can go there if you are a U.S. absentee, and they feel like
Ooh.
you were interfering with the interests of national security. They can send you there for
Well,
further
that
questioning.
that well, that's pretty spooky, I have to say.
Yeah.
Well, so for
Oh, it's not
anyone
so
watching this,
spooky. I mean, there's a McDonald's there.
wait, have you been there before?
No, but I have several people that I'm currently stationed with at the time of this video who have been stationed there. So they've told me all about it. It's a nice place if you work there. They have McDonald's, they have hotels, they have restaurants, they have boat rentals, they have all types of stuff you can do there.
I had no so, and there's obviously the commissary and PX there
Yeah,
for shopping.
everything you need if you work there. If you're a detainee there, then your life's
Well,
gonna be.
obviously it's a bit different,
Yeah.
a little bit of a different uniform you'll be wearing.
Yes, definitely.
So we talked about you being a content creator in the Navy. So in the Navy, do you get a lot of opportunities to express your original ideas, to express your creativity, or do you find that you don't get a lot of these and you feel some frustration? So how does your experience being obviously you're a creative person and a creator on YouTube? How do you kind of get to stretch that muscle and whatnot in the service?
To put it frankly, underway when the ship's out at sea, I do not get many opportunities at all to create. I'm guessing you're asking if I get opportunities to create new content while I'm working.
There's that. I would like to know that, but also while you're doing your duties in the military, because you are a creative person, do you have a lot of opportunities to express your creativity while doing your job in the service, such as doing your job in new and unexplored ways? Do you have a lot of flexibility in your job to go off of the system,
Mm,
so to say, and experiment with new things, methods, trainings? Tell
No,
us a little bit about that.
not really, because everything we do usually has black and white, a written procedure about how to do it or the variations of how you can do it and what not to do. So there's not a lot of room for me to kind of flex anything. As for, just general creative stuff, maybe sometimes I'm making like a PowerPoint or a spreadsheet. I'll throw a little creative flair on it, just because I can. But besides from that, in my job proper, there's really not a lot of opportunities for me to stretch that muscle, like you said.
Do you think the military in general has a culture that allows for a lot of creative thought, that encourages creativity in general? Like, what's your personal opinion about that?
No. I'm not trying to bash the military, but when you join the military, you're there to work for the military, get the mission done, and hopefully go home at the end of the day. So there isn't really a lot of room for you to flex that creativity and find colorful, creative ways to do it. Like I said, there's usually a procedure for everything. If there's not, they will make one very quickly. So,
Okay,
yeah.
interesting. And so, starting from last summer, because we're coming up right in June right now, June 2020, over the past year, so from last summer until now, what's the best thing that's happened to you? Now, this could be for your channel as a creator, it could be in the service, in your military career, it could be personal. Let's talk about what is the best thing, the number one best thing that's happened to you from summer 2019 to present.
The best thing that's happened to me. Ooh.
Yes, in any category. But it should be number one.
I guess the best thing that's happened to me is that I finally got to do a review done on Super Butter Buns' channel, and she got to she retweeted it and liked it, and she followed me on Twitter and you know, all that crazy stuff that went along with it. That's what I
Now,
say.
for my
I interviewed
sorry to
and I
interrupt.
reviewed her. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna interrupt you because for our audience who is not familiar with this creator, and what did you say her name was again?
Super Butter Buns.
Oh, Super Butter Bun.
It's Buns, yeah.
For those who are not familiar with this creator, can you kind of explain briefly to the audience who is this person and why is she significant for you and your channel?
Yes, so like I said, she originally inspired me to get into YouTubing. Her channel mainly consists of a series called For Beginners, which it's basically a beginner's guide / comedy video for any given video game.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much
like how to create content for games.
Not really. It's how to enjoy the game. How to play the game itself. Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's thanks to her that a lot of people got into Persona 5, because her For Beginners video for Persona 5's got like 1.5 million views. And I think the US sales for Persona 5 was 2 million views. So she's a big part of why that game got as popular as what it is in the States. She got me into that game, so I'm a customer as well. So yeah.
Cool, great. And this next question might be somewhat related to the previous one. And if it's too similar, try to tell us a little bit about the second best thing that's happened to you. But this question is, what is one of your most defining moments recently? So let's say over the past year, what was one of your most defining moments as a creator, as a military professional, and even personally as a man? What was one of your most defining moments in the past year that really gave you a right turn and a right angle in your life?
Defining moment. Very introspective question.
Yeah, well, I warned you before the interview. We can drop these bombs on you at any time.
I don't know. There's so many good moments that I have to be thankful for this past year. But I guess I could say a defining moment.
Right. So you mentioned one of the best moments was having you being recognized by this other very well-heeled creator on YouTube. But let's say beyond that. Let's say for example, move it to the category.
Oh,
of
I know.
Yeah.
Here's a defining moment.
Okay.
So I assembled a little small team on MOPETE here, consisting of you and about 7 other content creators, right? And so I leave for this underway, and it's like a long, grueling, like 2 or 3 month long underway. And I come back and I say, I just, pretty much for, courtesy reasons, I'm like, hey guys, I'm back. And you all greeted me so happily and were so happy to hear from me. And that really sunk my heart right there, because at that point I knew.
We thought your ship sank. We didn't hear from you. We didn't know what happened to you.
it really.
I mean, you warned us, but still.
It really became a defining moment, because At that point, I realized MOPETE is just no longer me toiling away at just videos trying to figure this shit all sorry, excuse my language, figure this thing out all
No,
by
no,
myself.
no problem. You can curse on this in this interview.
All right, figure this
It's
shit.
totally allowed.
Figure
Let it
this
out.
shit off all by myself. No, I have a team of people now that support me and that care about me, and together, really, the channel I feel like can thrive. I just gotta, finish being on sea duty.
And on that note, currently you mentioned that you're on sea duty, and you currently have assembled a team to take care of your channel and help that channel move from where it is now into the future. But you know what? A question just came up in my mind that I never really thought about before, and I wanted to ask you right now. So, talking about your channel and the success that you've seen with it recently. Okay, let's talk about that. Now, I know that there are many ways to promote a YouTube channel. There's non-paid, paid, there's the organic, and there's the mechanical ways. But I noticed that since joining you, there has been a significant increase in subscribers to your channel. I also noticed that you have a Patreon and you have monthly donors on that Patreon. So, from my point of view, you've had quite a bit of success, despite the fact that you've been out at sea for so long and have not been able to do a lot of hands-on the channel. And reflecting that success recently, kind of what are some of the things that you believe have led to this sudden increase in progress, the sudden increase in subscribers, the increase in views? I've noticed that, again, since the beginning of where we were working together, which was a few months ago, late last year, actually, and then we started continuing to work a few months ago. What do you think has done the most to bring up your channel and to cause so much improvement over the past few months?
I will start off by saying that you should not have to pay to advertise your channel. You shouldn't have to you can grow your channel spending $0 and 0 cents, kids. Anyone that tells you otherwise, they're scamming you. They're trying to get your money. You don't need to use Facebook Boost or any of that bull crap to try to boost your channel. You can do it for free. But what I say increases viewership are two things. Consistency, making sure you put out videos consistently, quality videos consistently, and engagement, just making sure that you're constantly squawking on all platforms for free, of course. So like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Reddit is what I advertise the channel on. And while, I'm not getting a ton of support from there, I'm still getting the word out there. I'm putting the idea in people's heads. Eventually, they're going to be like, all right, what is this MOPETE thing about? I'm clicking on this. And boom, there we go. Away we go. I have a backlog of interesting videos. That's where the consistency comes back in to show you. And if you're interested in staying, you have videos that you can watch for a while. You might even drop a sub, being like, hey, I like what this guy has to bring. I'm going to drop a sub. And that's how that whole process works. It's not designed to get us, rich overnight, as I like to say. Right. But it's designed to just steadily build and build and build that organic subscriber count up.
Right. And again, I mean, I've been monitoring your progress for the past few months, and it's been very impressive considering the fact that you have not done, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have not done any paid advertising or paid promotion of your channel. It's been all just naturally organic over the past few months. Is that right?
Yep. Just putting the idea in people's heads. That's it.
Right. And again, I see the results of that. So good work. And I'm very confident under your leadership that the channel will continue to grow organically and, get up there. Oh, sorry. What did you say?
Oh, I just said thank you.
Oh, okay. You're welcome. So we talked about, you've had some recent successes and recent progress with your channel. In your life as a man or as a content creator on YouTube or as a military professional, but these days, what excites you right now?
What excites me right now?
What excites you right now?
Just anything.
Anything.
It's gonna sound shallow thinking about all my because I feel like all these answers where I can answer anything basically comes back to my YouTube. That shows you how big the channel is to me. What excites me is finishing a project. Starting a project is any content creator will tell you that starting a project is such a long, gruesome process. Got to go through writing, shooting, editing, re-editing, and it can be even longer if you start to have second thoughts about that project. But finishing it is the greatest feeling in the world. When I know that I'm about to be finished with a project, it's just the best feeling inside. I have a bottle of like cream soda on standby for when I finish it, so I can just guzzle it down in celebration. That's what excites me these days. Finishing projects and seeing them go live on YouTube and then seeing people like it. That's what gets me off right there.
Great. So we talked about history and we talked about the present, and I kind of want to take the last segment of this interview and let's talk about the future. Let's talk about your future, and let's talk about the future of the MOPETE channel. And as an aside, also talk about your future with the military, because again, I think the military gives you a very different perspective while being a creator, and it gives you, of course, lots of interesting experiences. And I'm sure many in my audience would like to hear, how you've been able to manage and juggle the two. But let's talk about the future, and what are you most looking forward to? And this could be in the near future, or it could be a year from now or 2 years from now. You choose the duration, you choose the time, but what are you most looking forward to right now?
Next year, going on shore duty, because that means I can go in full overdrive when it comes to creating content and getting my degree.
Oh, and you are pursuing a degree in which discipline?
Business management.
Business management. All right, very good. So when you go back on shore, according to your schedule, do you think you'll be shipped out to sea again, or are you going to remain on land until the end of your term, the end of your
Nope.
contract?
I should be on land until the end of my contract, barring something crazy like World War III happening.
Oh, well, let's knock on wood and pray to God that does not happen. At
Yeah,
least
I
not
just
in our
knocked on my
lifetimes.
baseboard. Yeah.
All right. So, so now that we're kind of moving into the tail end of the interview, so what are your plans? You mentioned that you're going to be going back on shore next year and pursuing your degree. What are your plans after you complete your military service?
I want to either work at a Fortune 500 company, boring, or take over my father's business. He's a DJ. He does Sound Profits DJing, and he does it with my brother. And it's kind of like a family business. And I kind of want to just, if it's still around when I get out of the military, I kind of want to just take it over, make it my own thing. Of course, hopefully by then, MOPETE will be big enough to where that could be my job, where I'm just a full-time YouTuber and just making content every day. Because I would like that, just to spend 16 hours a day making videos for you guys. I would love that, actually.
Cool. And making a full-time career, making great content. And again, like to my audience, if you haven't reviewed MOPETE's channel yet, there's going to be a link in the description below, and be sure to check it out when you have a moment. I personally am not a huge anime and manga fan. I think nerd culture can be interesting, but again, I'm not very deep in it myself. But MOPETE, the way MOPETE presents these topics, it's very funny and entertaining. Usually when I click on something I'm not very interested in on YouTube, I'll watch the first 10 seconds, but then they lose my engagement. But with a lot of MOPETE's content, usually I watch until the end. Or, to be frank, if I'm very busy, at least I'll watch halfway through, then I'll pause it and watch the rest later on, perhaps before bed or in bed when I'm doing some chill activities. So on to the next question here. I have two more questions. Again, it goes back to the military because my final question will be only about content creation. So for those in the audience watching this interview, okay, whether or not they watch it tomorrow or perhaps 5 years from now, people will be watching this interview and take an interest in the topics. For those watching and they're thinking about joining the military, okay, any branch, enlisted or officer, MOPETE, if you could go back in time and advise your younger self about what to do, how to handle the military, how to prepare yourself before joining, what to look out for, etc. What will be a few things that you would tell your younger self before you join the military? And again, this would be advice from my audience and all the watchers. For those thinking about joining the service, what would you tell them? What kind of career advice would you give them before they make the decision to join?
Yeah, I would just say, just make sure just to sit down and review all of your decisions carefully. You never know, You never know what you can find. You never know if you can immediately find your passion, and you never know what can happen, because who knows? Maybe you could find trade school and not have to go into the military. I'm not bad-mouthing the military or anything. I'm just saying it's a huge commitment, and enlisting and even going officer commissioning is a huge decision that most of the times, 9 out of 10, that you won't be able to take back. So just think long and hard, think very carefully about what you're doing and what you want to do in the military if you decide to go that route. That's the best advice I can give.
That does make a lot of sense. So our final question, or at least one of our final questions, if nothing else comes up, going back to being a creator. Now, you mentioned, we talked about this a little bit before, but here is a very specific question about that. And again, I'd like you to just do it freestyle and pour your heart out, so
Shoot
to
for the
say,
hip,
if you
yeah.
can. Right. So, as a content creator, okay, somebody like yourself who has seen some success already on YouTube as a channel owner, but also as a content creator yourself, what would be some advice for other creators who want to organically grow their YouTube channel with the intention of getting a great audience, of course, first, but also down the line wants to make a little bit of money for themselves with monetization? Now, previously, you mentioned two things: consistency and making great content. Okay, now of course that makes sense, but is there any other specific advice that comes to mind that you tell a new creator besides consistency and making great content? What would be some advice, again, if we could go back in time, what would you tell the younger and greener MOPETE of the MOPETE channel to do, knowing what you know now as a content creator and channel owner?
Okay, I'll answer that question in two parts. If I was talking to myself back then, I would say to discover your channel's platform and what it's about as soon as possible. I feel like in my early years, I was struggling to find what I wanted the channel's identity to be. There's at some point where it was going to be a classic review channel. There's some points where it's going to be a vlog channel. Some points where it's going to be just a kind of podcasty channel. I feel like only recently I found out what MOPETE is and why, and I think that's part of the reason why the channel's experienced some recent success. For the just creator in general, the new creator in general, I want to tell you, just don't give up when you first start. 9 times out of 10, unless your video becomes a meme, you're not going to get a lot of viewership when you first start out. You're going to get 5, 6, 7 views out the gate and just as many subscribers. It's all right. That's a good thing. Just put out content consistently, get better, find ways to get better, and slowly grow your channel organically. And advertise on social media, of course. If you're dead set on making money, I don't recommend YouTubing just to make money, because that'll make your content seem unauthentic, just because you have that in the back of your mind and it shows. But if you're dead set on making money off YouTube, then review YouTube's monetization policy, their partnership policy, and see all you need to do to keep your videos from becoming demonetized. Because I feel like a lot of content creators, when they make it big, they had to change up a lot of their videos because they don't meet YouTube's monetization policy guidelines. And so they don't want to lose money. So they're in this epic scramble to change up all their videos to meet it. Me personally, I don't really care about YouTube's monetization policy. So I'm just kind of letting my videos go as is. But if you're dead set on that, then definitely look at that policy and learn it like the back of your hand.
Great. Okay, MOPETE. Well, thank you for your authentic answers, and this has been a great interview. And I personally certainly learned a lot, not only about being a YouTube content creator, but also about the U.S. military, because obviously I've never been in the service. My dad was, and my cousin was, but I haven't. So I learned a lot about multiple topics here, and I think that's what made interviewing you so interesting, because you're, in my eyes, you're kind of like a true Renaissance man. You know what I mean? You're able to have many interests and many things going for you, and also being proficient in managing all of them. So thank you for being so interesting and also agreeing to come on to our show.
No problem. Thank you for having me, Seth. It was a huge deal being asked to be interviewed. I feel like a true YouTube star, even though I'm not quite there yet. Thank you, Seth.
Well, judging from the progress I've seen from your channel over the past few months, I don't think you have long to go. So keep up the great work. And again, this is Seth here from Cosma Records on an episode of Behind the Artist. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for our next episode, which should include also another artist and creator who is also coincidentally a US military veteran, but this time she is now an author and veteran of the US Marine Corps. So again, folks, thanks for listening and take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye, guys.